Yo guys, this is Reinhardt, and this video is going to be about the constructive, reflection of a current World of Warcraft PvP system and the ways to make it better. And I'm gonna go as far as saying if you don't agree with any one of my points, and I'm gonna bring about like 9 to 10 points, and I'm gonna be talking about this might be a bit of a long video, so if you have basically wanting to go out and play the game or do something else besides watching my beautiful face, I'm looking in the camera, then you by all means go for it and do it. And for the developers, if you're looking at this video somehow one of my tweets or my followers tweets, by the way, if you feel a need to tweet it to Ghostcrawler and Holinka, by all means, I'm not gonna discourage it. Please do so, because in my opinion, if they're gonna see this video and if this video is actually will touch them, then maybe there is a slight chance of actually some good improvements in what I see the right direction. But I don't want you to direct this video until you see all the points that I'm trying to bring here. And if you do disagree at least on one of them, then by all means dislike this video, close this video, dislike, and leave a negative comment. If, like I'm saying, this is how confident I am is actually in what I'm gonna try to preach here. If you're gonna dislike even one bullet point out of 9, then basically go ahead and dislike this video. So big balls deep, yo. So let's get started. The very first one I'm gonna say, the very first one is frequent updates and communication. And by all means, the communication has not got better compared to the others because there's a Twitter. But on the other hand, I'm still not very positive with the Twitter, because the Twitter usually addresses something that it's usually like 90% of the time it's just, to me, it's pointless communication, and the 10% times it gets touched on is usually touched on something that is going to be released in the future. This is why the reason I underlined present versus future is because I believe that we are just bunch of donkeys chasing carrots right now in a video game. Wait guys, there's something better is gonna come up. This patch is gonna do something better for us, and this patch is gonna be doing something better for us. And you know what, I would actually kind of sort of could understand that, but the fact that we're waiting for the patches to fix the balance issues, but they are actually making the game like way worse, to the point where it's just like people are scared of looking forward to the next patch. And the reason why I said a frequent updates / communication is for one main particular reason, because we'll give a lot of feedback during PTR, and during PTR times, this is where they need to be changed. There's absolutely no excuse, okay, for when they're trying to tone down the class. How is it possible to buff it in the process? Like, I'm still baffled. So I'm still like sitting here and like, what are you actually thinking about? Like, that kind of a thing about, like, BM Hunter's a good example of it. Like, really? You're supposed to be nerfing the class, not over buffing it. But anyway, this is just one of the examples. So frequent updates. League of Legends was releasing at least, like, I would say monthly updates, maybe months and a half at the most. Patch updates will introduce into new champions or a new something that they come up with, something cool. So I would imagine that probably monthly PvP updates if the game is in the complete. And here's the thing, League of Legends is like 10 times more polished in terms of PvP than World of Warcraft. So World of Warcraft, being less polished, having a lot more imbalances, has a lot slower updates than League of Legends at the same time, and this is where it gets boring to play, because people just lose faith in something getting fixed. The second point is PvE versus PvP, and there's the skills and the gear. So the very first thing is never ever gonna give that kind of a excuse saying that it's too difficult to code, because from what I understand, I talked to a few coders, they said it's a second level coding and it's actually not that difficult. But regardless of that, even if it's difficult to code the skills to perform differently in PvE and PvP, it still has to be done for your customers. We are your customers who want to enjoy the game. Please let us have the opportunity to enjoy your video game. So in that sense, when it comes to balancing the skills, don't give us the excuse that we're too stupid or we're gonna get confused, because the skills are gonna be either nerfed in the middle of the patch or they're gonna behave differently in PvE versus PvP. Let me give you the example, and again, going back to League of Legends, and actually probably Guild Wars 1 at the same time. And here's the funny part about it. In Guild Wars 1, the abilities were doing different damage in PvE versus PvP. And same thing with League of Legends. For example, Caitlyn passive or a couple other abilities, the damage against the monsters is actually completely different than damage against the players. Or even different items, like for example Blade of the Ruined King in League of Legends. So my main question is, do you really think that League of Legends and Guild Wars 1 players are a lot smarter than World of Warcraft players? That they can understand different patch notes or different behavioral or different effects in PvE versus PvP? Or you're just too lazy to fix them? Because the way I think about it is, if I'm playing those two different games and I have a bachelor's degree in the maybe I'm not that dumb enough to understand it, but of course I could be the exception, maybe. But if people are playing casually, they're not gonna even notice that, and if they're gonna notice that, it is something that like, oh cool, that means that it behaves differently. So that's one. The second one is gear, PvE versus PvP gear, and this is where it gets very frustrating for me as the customer, and this is where I'm just gonna lay out flat out bullshit. And listen, hear me out. Let me put it this way. If the person barely reaches level 90, right? If he wants to go for PvP, he has to get honor gear. Am I correct? Yes. And then he can progress towards the PvP gear. Am I correct? Yes. If that person wants to go in PvE, he's going to LFR, his dungeons, get his gear, and then go further on the progression in PvE as well. Okay, that is cool. Now let's look at the breaching. If honor geared person wants to breach towards the PvE, he cannot do LFR right at the start. What he has to do is he has to actually run the dungeons, get his item level a little bit higher, and then do LFR. If the full PvP geared one, the current season one, wants to do LFR, that they bring out the tier 2. So if he wants to move in there, what is happening is that again, he has to go LFR because LFR provides a better item levels, and then he can actually move to a higher tier of PvE. Now let's look at the PvE. If the PvEer wants to do it, there's almost like a zero work needs associated with it. The only thing he might have to get is like a 4 set bonus and maybe a couple offset pieces, and it depends. Some 4 set PvE bonus is actually better than PvP, and the high upgraded heroic gear is actually outperforming the PvP gear once at the level, according to a few articles. Now I'm not 100% sure how they're accurate or not, but still the main trinkets from PvE, the necklaces with like a gem slot and stuff like that, still overperforms by a much higher degree than PvP gear. So this is where it gets very extremely frustrating to me. So the person that actually starts PvPing, he has to get honor gear, and then he has to get the current season PvP gear. He has to jump through 2 tiers, a fully tier upgrade. Now the person, if that person goes to PvE, he goes to LFR, he gets gear from LFR, then he has to replace just a couple pieces to make himself viable for PvP. And do you see the disconnect over there? The person who actually going from PvE progressive has to work a lot less to be as effective and even more effective than a person who PvP and has a full PvP set. That should not work ever. What I think that needs to be done is actually make the PvE gear equals to a starting PvP gear. So the high end, the best PvE gear in the game should be as effective as honor gear. I think that's the perfect bridge. You can bridge there, but you're still gonna have to work for gear. Just like the PvPer who wants to PvE at the same time has to have that bridge and work for it as well. Now if you don't agree with me, dislike this video. Tell me to go, I don't know, eat shit or something. But if you agree with me in the video, voice your comments. Let actually people know. Let them know what they think about this video, and what the suggestions I gave is actually very easy to do. Disable PvE gear from arenas, battleground to raid battlegrounds. Completely disallow it, and in return make the honor gear free and give the honor an opportunity to buy enchants. Let us buy enchants, gems, and everything we want from the honor, so PvPers can actually make some gold income at the same time while actually doing PvP. Maybe random battlegrounds leave the PvE alone, just have it de-leveled, but still, or make it that the full PvP set, the entire PvP set, gonna give you 5% extra resilience, 5% extra PvP power, 5% crit reduction. Why I'm saying crit reduction? Because in fact, when people actually enjoyed the most this game, it was BC and Wrath of the Lich King. That's when there was a crit reduction. Right now, because there's no crit reduction, there goes the rampant. Now I know what you're gonna say. You're playing Unholy Decay, you only wanna like pull the blanket to your side. No, I do not want. If you want to nerf my class, by all means go for it. But if they're gonna be crit reduction, they're gonna be a lot slower fights, and it's actually gonna be a lot more enjoyable. So this is what makes me the most frustrated about WoW PvP versus PvE perspective. And being coming from the business, this is borderline is just inexcusable. I want to have you look at this thing really quickly, and I'm sorry my crappy ass drawing, I drew it backhand. So you see those two circles, right? Let's put it this way. Let's have this circle is a PvE. Fucking A, there you go. This big circle is PvE. Whoa, there it is. The smaller circle is PvP. Okay, so there's a PvE community that PvEs, there's a PvP community that only PvPs, strictly PvPs. And you see there's something overlap in the middle. That is something that they do together. So the people like the PvE and PvP at the same time and enjoy two different things that the community has to provide. So by actually enabling the PvE gear in PvP and actually not making that the PvE skills behave differently in PvP, this entire community, this entire PvP community gets screwed over because this community might want to have an easier breach. And let me have you look again. The majority of a PvP community gets screwed over by this little sliver. That is very, very bad and extremely frustrating, to be honest. So that's it for the so far we did it frequent updates, PvE versus PvP. The other two bullet points I'm gonna give you right away is play your freaking game, developers. I'm begging you to shits. Okay, play your game and actually realize that the game is imbalanced, and it's as imbalanced and people voicing their concerns, and not because we're stupid and not because we're bad players, but because they're legitimately right now the game is a wreck and carrot chasing is actually getting extremely old. Next patch is gonna fix it. I don't know. You messed up on 5.2, 5.3, even to some extent 5.1. So please tell me if you messed up 3 patches. If you messed up every single patch, almost. Okay, if you messed up 2 out of 3 patches that's been introduced in Miss Pandaria, why we should be looking forward to 5.4 patch? That's exactly what I'm thinking. So the second one is when you actually play your game, play on PTR as well and have open communication with us. Meaning, listen to our feedback about the classes on the PTR. Listen to our changes on the PTR. Listen to us when we're saying this is overtuned, this is undertuned. For example, 8,800 trinkets should never made it live the way they are on PvP. In fact, they should be giving just as much offensive stats as a PvP trinkets. But why people should prefer PvP trinkets? Because of the extra PvP power. That's how it's supposed to be handled. Not just mediocre meditating there while giving them extremely high uptime, but just and lowering their proc, but not lowering their proc enough to the point that the procs are still much higher than actually from PvP. Like, that is sad. Now on to the next point. We have rework your current ladder achievement system and merge battle groups. Now this is the thing, okay? Now let me get this straight. And this is, I'm gonna use again League of Legends model because I think it's the best. Wildstar is gonna be utilizing that model, so I think that they're onto something. So this is how it works. So first of all, there's only North American service. And then the Brazilians are gonna have Brazilian, European. So anyway, only North American. So only European. And this is how it works there. You start, let's say, like you have your qualifying matches, you win a lot. You start at the specific, like, so say silver bracket, and then as you progress to gold, plat, diamond, which is like rank 1, and then challenge, well, maybe like gladiator / rank 1, and then challenger is like multi contest tournament winners. Guess what happens? It gets lower, but the progression is still going there, and the way how it works is you get it for a current season. Your achievements locked with the current season. So let's say if I get to the gold, I will never drop to bronze. I'll have to try really hard and lose like 30-40 games in a row to be disqualified from my bracket, meaning that if I get carried and I start losing again, I will go down. Guess what's gonna happen during that time? People are still queuing, people are still having fun. That's the thing I want to actually be introduced in World of Warcraft. Give achievements based on your current season. Update those achievements on the current season, because last season achievements are a mess. Like, people would use like think that they got gladiator from different seasons, and then like, oh, I'm still as good. That actually perpetrates to me a lot. But anyway, here's the thing. Give the gladiator titles, give the rating achievements for the current season in the middle of the season. So the person reaches 2450, 2500, give them the freaking gladiator title. If you reach to like top 10, give that person a gladiator title for that season. Oh well, Reinhardt, what if the people gonna get carried? Oh bullocks, who gives a crap that if they're gonna get carried? Let me be honest with you. What is better? Have a good, active, healthy battle group where everybody's competing all the time? Or have they where people just get to the ratings, sit on them like a freaking penguin during the hailstorms, and just like sitting and trying to catch that X, sitting and trying to catch that achievement. And guess what? Cheating still happens all the freaking time in World of Warcraft. So it doesn't even matter. But I think if you give titles in the middle of the season instead of at the end of the season, it will increase participation a lot and make it a lot more fun. And actually gonna increase create more competitive environment. So what if they're gonna be there's a little bit more people gonna get gladiator tile and gladiator mines? Who gives a crap about it? Honestly, I don't. Nobody. But at least the competition is gonna be still going. Next point: ranked skirmish and battle groups, and that is something perpetrating to me. My main is a Death Knight. I play like 5 hours a week in World of Warcraft because right now it's crap. But regardless, even when I play like 20 to 40 hours a week, here's the thing. Introduce the ranked skirmish in the game. Why am I saying to introduce the ranked skirmish? Is one simple reason. People want to get better on their alts. People don't even have a time for a committed 3 team, but they still want to increase their level, still want to progress in the game, still want to have fun in the game. So what? Those people are screwed? Please don't tell us that. Let us actually have opportunity to play for the ranked skirmishes or ranked battlegrounds. Ranked skirmish battlegrounds. So what is gonna happen in the process? What is my suggestion here is actually extremely easy. A person queues up for skirmishes, he gains his ratings, he loses his ratings, doesn't matter. The skirmish has to be only for 3v3. That is actually gonna matter and increase their point cap. And the way it's gonna work is gonna be very simple. It's gonna be 1 healer to DPS. That's it. No restriction except for no class stacking. So you cannot have two classes at the same time. To the same classes at the same time. So what are the positive things that are coming out of it? People wanna get good at their alts or good at their main tunes, can actually queue for skirmishes, get comfortable with their skill level, and then look for people. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, in the ranked skirmishes, you're gonna introduce a different title system, different mount system, everything different from the main rated 3v3. So you're gonna open up another competitive, so to say, bracket. And I think it's gonna be a lot more fun with the merged battle groups, and that there's gonna be a lot more competition and a lot more fun, a lot faster queues, and a lot better, cleaner community too. So that is my suggestion for skirmish and battle groups, and let people actually get their points increase, cap increase, and raid battle groups. And the last thing I want to touch base here: there's no fucking excuse why arena should give a lower caps than RBGs. Okay, that's again shoving down our throat shit that we don't want. Okay, this is something like, again, this is the bureaucracy, this is the perception that we get as a customer. You, Mr. Customer, are freaking stupid, therefore Therefore, you don't understand how fun rated battlegrounds are. Therefore, we're gonna make the cap insanely high on those and insanely shitty for arenas. Come on. Next one is the progression. And I guess I touched base a lot here in ranked skirmish and battle groups, but I'm gonna talk about the progression here really quickly. The progression should be the following, okay? The progression should be based on your skill level in PvP, but not your gear level. So what I mean by that is that if you have 3 different alts, like I do, Shadow Priest, Lock, and Decay, if you try to like get the cap, it's all you. I ended up having like a weeks where I only play to get a cap. I would play like 25-30 hours a week just to get caps. Not even progress in skill, but just to progress with gear. And that actually was insanely boring because I actually wanted to progress in skill. So in my sense, what needs to be done with all my changes suggestion is actually make the gear, PP gear, easier to get. Lower the ratings, lower the requirements for it, okay? No, but make the progression based on a skill level, and make it a good progression, not the crappy piece of crap gear that you guys have, because your gear looks absolutely dreadful and horrendous. The gear looks like from a Stone Age, like a freaking Neanderthal would wear. I swear to God, when I look at the Decay set with the little skulls and whole stone set, I was looking either Golem or something else, but not a Death Knight apparently. And they know just 2 skulls don't make us a Death Knight, just so you know. So the progression should be, come up with some kind of badass freaking gear, please. You're a multi-billion-dollar company. You're a multi-million subscriber company. And the fact that you cannot actually make a good-looking gear is downright insulting. Come up with a better gear, better looking gear, and tie that gear to the ratings. So the people that want to progress, they're not necessarily going to get advantage in PvP in terms of the gear, but they're going to get advantage in terms of the looks, aesthetics, the rights that, hey, I earned this freaking gear with my skill. Live with it, bitch. That. Okay, the last 2 points. Finally getting closer here. Battlegrounds. I'm just gonna say a little bit here. Some of them are incredibly imbalanced. Let's get started. So for Temple Battlegrounds benefit burst classes too much. Okay, let's put it this way. If the people can burst you with 1 ability or 2 abilities in Temple while you're holding the flags, that's a big no-no. In Library, in Rift, they have the similar mechanic, except for the target receives less healing and the target has a dot damage associated with it. So whether you have a high sustained damage or you have a high burst damage, it doesn't matter, because if you do the same damage with a burst or sustain on the target itself, because the target actually don't take increased damage taken, it will go down relatively at the same rate. But what in the Temple of Kog'Maw happens is, because target gets a debuff that increases damage taken from the abilities, then the dot class is actually fucked in there, and the classes who have a insanely high burst are actually getting like way ahead. I remember in the like early 5.2 patch where we actually grouped up and we tried, like, we put AoEs down and everything else, and I remember the rogue coming up to us, and he literally almost one-shotted 3 of our flag carriers. He killed 2 flag carriers in the middle of his subterfuge, which made him invisible and almost unpeelable. He popped like Cloak of Shadows, Subterfuge, and Shadow Dance, and killed 2 of our flag carriers, and the 3rd one that barely got away was like 50k HP. There was 1 rogue did that, and we almost lost that battleground. And what happened is because he had insanely high damage in that period of time. This is the reason why I think Temple is very imbalanced. Gilneas favors Alliance too much. I play Alliance, okay? So I'm not, that's not like something I'm trying to advocate for Horde, no. But Gilneas, actually, Battle for Gilneas favors Alliance because Horde has to cross 2 rivers, and Alliance gets there a little bit like 2 or 3 seconds faster. So what happens is, by the time Horde is trying to engage in there, because there are a few classes that have increased movement speed on the Alliance side, they get there faster, they drop people off their mounts in the middle of the river, they put a lot of AoE control into them, and at the same time, even though Alliance is not capturing the flag, you knock them off, they have a positioning advantage in that map, so please rework on it. Out of the storm, Alliance gets the flag this much faster than Horde, and believe it or not, this could actually make a difference when you're trying to do a coordinated knock off of the Eye of the Storm. In Mines actually favors Horde because they get to that they are located towards the bottom card faster, so you need to push them back a little bit as well. And the last thing that I want to talk about it is a combat flow, and this is my personal perception. This is somewhere where I'm going kind of like hard here. In my personal perception, okay, the combat flow, the healing should not be doing more than, I would say, about like one healer should not be healing more than 15% of your health global, so 10% a second, and damage should not be higher than 5% a second. Okay, okay, now I'm not 100% here, like don't listen to me exactly because I'm not 100%, but what I'm trying to say is when a healer is free casting heals and 2 DPS trading one target, he should be barely making it even. But at the same time, if the other DPS pops a defensive, he should be able to get topped up. But here's what I'm actually, the thing I want to talk about, touch base with the combat flow the most, is the DPS should not do more than 5% a second damage, and should not do more than 7-8% damage a second if they pop all their cooldowns and all the trinket procs. And this is the reason why. If you have a 2 DPS training one target, okay, and each and every one of them do like a 5% damage a second, that effectively they need roughly about 10 seconds to kill that DPS, so they can control a healer for 10 seconds. Okay, now that's okay, right? That's pretty decent. But when they pop all their cooldowns and both of them do like a 7% a second damage, they can actually effectively kill that target in 6 seconds. But right now what is happening is that when the people go burst, they can actually burst somebody at the rate of 15 to 20% a second DPS. Guess what happens when you have like this 15-20% a second DPS? The target goes down extremely insanely fast. Guess what's gonna happen to the healing? Healing has to be insanely fast as well. Guess what happens when they're 2 DPS popping all their cooldowns? They get a good RNG and they push out to 20% a second each and every one of them. Okay, you know how long it's gonna take to kill that person? 2.5 seconds. Now, nobody enjoys getting killed in 2.5 seconds. So, in my opinion, the combat flow right now in Miss Pandaria should be lower. Both healing should be reduced by like 30%, and the damage and necrotics as well. Everything should be just downscaled by like, if the healing is reduced by like 30%, the damage should be probably reduced by like 45%, I would say, at the very least. So that's my partake, and I know I'm just a number. I know I'm like have like what 28,000 subscribers, so I'm not the biggest person in the world, but whatever it is, I really think that I can actually give my feedback. And unfortunately, maybe my time with World of Warcraft is coming to an end, because the fact is the game is becoming insanely not fun. But it's not becoming unfun because of imbalance. Imbalance sucks, but the fact that the developers still have no clue what they're doing, or not listening to our feedback, or not perpetrating to our needs, that becomes a problem. Even League of Legends stated that they actually like insanely tailoring towards the PvPers, especially towards the high like different levels of PvP, but they are listening to their feedback, to their associates, and providing with the content for them, like item sets, a RAM, or something different, or like toning down the champions, buffing them up, reworking the future. Imagine like they're reworking classes. In the middle of the patch, they might actually rework the patch. Not expansion, not nothing, not the season. In the middle of the patch, just rework the class. So I think that's very admirable, and I think that World of Warcraft needs to actually look into that. Okay, League of Legends customers are not stupid. Well, at least I would like to think so. That's why probably League of Legends that's how they look at their customers, because they listen to them. and in return League of Legends became way more popular than World of Warcraft. And in fact, I right now spend more money on League of Legends than I spend the entire year of World of Warcraft subscriptions, because simply put, the game is more fun, the game gives me an opportunity to have fun, and I want to pay the game back. So I think that the World of Warcraft needs to do the same thing. Okay, if you want to hire more people, if you want to get more money from us, we don't even care. We will pay you a subscription fee. I'll pay $50 subscription fee if you're gonna set up the PvP server where you're actually gonna put a lot of effort into balancing it. Okay, in fact, if you come up with something really good looking armor and shit that I can buy with real life money, I will do so. If I'll be having fun in the game. But because I'm not having fun in the game, I'm not even interested in anything World of Warcraft has to offer at this point. So please listen to us. We might not be as stupid as you think, developers. Thanks everybody for watching, and до свидания.